What's up, guys? My name is Daniel. I draw cars and turn them into 3D prints using HueForge. Today we have the Artist Series episode 4, and today we are featuring the artist JakeMakes. Jake does a lot of cartoon work. I found him over on TikTok live streaming. He does some really cool art, and he sent me some really cool projects to work through. If you are an artist or a photographer or know of anybody with some really cool art, and you would think that they would want it turned into some 3D prints, feel free to message me or put them in the comments, and I will do my best to reach out and find new artists, because I love showing these artists work off that may have not known that you could turn their art into 3D prints. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so let's start off with one of the coolest pieces of art I've seen in a long time. We've got a classic, Dora the Explorer. It's a little gruesome, but I love it. This style, this artwork is great. So if we want to get this as close as possible, we're going to have to do it in color match just due to the way that the colors are looking. I can tell just right off the bat, we're going to have a lot of issues getting the color separation that we want from skin tones here and skin tones here. If we come out down to image format, we can change over to luminance and you can get a better picture of how HueForge is looking at this in standard mode. We're gonna just switch over to color match right away. All right, so in color match, we have a mesh core and a color core. If you're new here, you just haven't used HueForge a lot. HueForge looks at your images with some parameters and then it turns it into this 3D mesh. In color match, you are creating the mesh all manually based on what colors you see in your image. So what we are going to do is we are going to drag some colors from this image into our mesh core. We're going to make a mesh, and then we will come over here and we will use real filaments that we have in our library to make this a 3D print. So let's go ahead and get started. Right off the bat, the thing that you need to remember is that we are trying to make a coherent product, essentially. So we want Boots being in the foreground and we want Dora in the background. So with that being said, the foreground is going to be your topmost part of your mesh, whereas your background is going to be the bottommost. We have our black already started. We'll bring that down to our min depth, which is 0.48. Right now you can see at layer 5 we were at 0.48, so we can leave it here. We can bring it up to give it a little bit more saturation at 0.56. Let's grab some of the skin tone. Let's grab some of this orange. Let's grab the pink, and we'll grab this brown. And we need to grab some of this red. All right, I think we need some of this yellow as well. Very trippy image. All right, so this is looking pretty good out the gate. We need some more of this yellow. We're gonna need some of this yellow. So this is currently matching here. Let's bring this up. So what am I doing here? I'm dragging colors from the image, and you can see that by the different flag here. Real filaments have this house shape, and fake filaments have this different shape. We'll say like 2 houses, I guess. So it's important to know the difference between a fake filament and a real filament. If you have a real filament in your mesh core and you go to adjust the TD so that you can get some blending range, you will adjust the TD that is in your filament library. So that's why I like to use fake filaments. But when you have more simple images than this, it's always good to use real filaments. That way you can just bring them over from your mesh core into your color core. It just makes it a lot easier. But that's not how this image is going to play out. So let's grab this purple. So now we need to get Boots into here. With this, I'm probably going to want to make this just a little bit thicker. Make it 3.24 to give us a lot more range at the top. That way we can bring in more colors. We'll bring in static depth. I don't think that really matters, but that way, if we need to blend some of the skin tones here so there's not as bad of stair stepping, we can go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and change the TD of this yellow. I hit T on the keyboard, and I'm gonna start using my mouse wheel. And the reason that I'm using my mouse wheel, you can see that we're getting blending range in between these two colors. I don't necessarily want that. I want the white down here so that I can get the blending in between these two. Now, this being a real filament, I don't want to use this. we want to grab a true white from the image instead. That way we can mess with the TDs of this without messing with TDs of any of the whites in our library. So the eye is what I'm focused on right now, but it's looking pretty good. We need to, we'll hit T again to lock in the TD at 6. Where are we blending here? This yellow. So this yellow, let me turn it off and see what happens. We lose that definition. So yeah, HueForge is having a lot of issues with all of these areas. So let's go ahead and we're going to bring it down to a 0.04 layer height, considering this is a more detailed image. It's always good just to, if you have more detail, then you bring it down to 0.04. And you can see that we have a lot of room here. So we might have not even needed to bring the depth up to 3.28. We can probably just bring it back down to 2.28. This down. The reason that I'm bringing these down is because you can see these equal signs. That means that we are at full saturation. We don't, once it's at full saturation, HueForge isn't really doing anything anymore. So there's no reason to have colors all the way through the roof. It just doesn't necessarily help anything. So let's go ahead. Right now we're looking pretty decent. We still need, I think this is like a brown maybe. So we're looking pretty good. The only thing that we're really missing here that I can see is the blue from boots itself. And then we should be good. Oh, and I guess the pink from the hand. We can get that a little bit better. We're blending here. Let me see. If we just bring this white down to a 0 TD, then that works out a little bit better. That works to our advantage. So now there's no range in between brown. So like if I have this, you can see that now we have this like off brown here. We don't want that necessarily for this image, so we'll just bring it all the way down to 0. Let's go ahead and we will grab this blue and we will grab there we go. So as you can see, the reason that I am adjusting the TD of this blue that I dragged in, so we have this blending just in the image itself, right? So when we're going from like a darker to a lighter blue, instead of me dragging in all 3 of these colors, I can just adjust the TD of this blue, so that way it's blending up from white into blue, and we get all of this color range in between. We saw that with the brown where I didn't want all of that blending range. So this is just the easier way to get all of those colors rather than trying to drag in each individual color. I think that it looks pretty good with like a 4-5. And we'll leave that where it's at. And then let's grab, I don't love that the face is all the way down here. Let's see if we can get this. There we go. That's way better. So now the reason that I grabbed the pink and I didn't want it matching here was that if we just turn this off, right, let's, boop. You can zoom in on the mesh. Let me turn on wireframe so you can see it a little bit better. That pink area of the face, although I could have left it and it probably would have looked fine from a distance, when you feel it after you print it, it's going to look really janky. It's just going to feel really janky. So it's just better to have the actual pink for it to match. So like I said, it feels coherent so that we have a foreground and a background with this image. And with that being said, we might actually bring this TD down. This is such a light blue. What if we use this? So this image looks pretty well matched up. The reason that the fingertips look a little weird is because in the actual image they're highlighted with that yellow, and so HueForge is actually matching this yellow right here. We could probably get that a little bit better if we turn down the TD. And then let's see what we can do about the teeth. The problem with the teeth, and you can see this giant pit of white, The problem is that there is actually white here in the image itself. So we might have just a tough time in general with this. Let me see if I can grab. That looks a little bit better. We'll probably want this low and this up high. Perfect. So this is looking pretty on point. Now we're gonna have one heck of a time trying to get the filaments correct, but as far as we can see, the mesh looks really good. We've done a pretty good job at matching up the colors. So let's go ahead and we will go over to the color core and we will try to match these filaments up. You can see that the mesh looks a little bit more coherent in the way that we are working. Remember, we're stacking a bunch of colors on top of each other, trying to get colors to blend and to make a cool 3D print. This isn't like typical multicolor 3D printing, so it's a little different. So let's grab some colors like this. I've got like this lilac purple. So let's grab this wood brown. I'll bring this in like here. Turn this off. And then I think I have, yeah, pastel peach is a little bit closer than sunrise orange to the original image. We'll grab the shirt color. Polytears Lotus pink is good. Let's grab a good dark red. I should have velvet red or Polylight's wine red is actually really good. It's a little bit deeper than what I have here in the library, but it's still a good color. Let's turn all these grays off. I don't need them. Where are we matching here? Oh, we need brown here. There we go. And we might just use Polylight brown, earth brown, and then we can use low TD white for this. Now I don't have a color that is like even semi close to this. I've got EPAX, blue pink, and I mean we can use it just for demonstration purposes, but it's not gonna be, with how high of a TD it is, it's just not gonna be what we need it to be. So let's see what colors we have closest to his skin or to Boots fur. So we have, again, lilac purple's not great. We can use pastel ice and that'll probably be pretty decent. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. So we will move on to the next color. We've got that brown. While we're here, let's just grab a pink. And we can probably use the same pink here. And then we need a 3.5 yellow. Overture's light yellow. There we go. And Boots is looking pretty good, to be honest. All right, so as you can see, we made the mesh. We brought the mesh in. What am I missing with this brown? What is this doing? Let's go back over here. 36. I don't think this is necessarily helping anything. What are we doing here? Turn this off. We don't need that. So right now I am pretty happy with the way this looks. As you can see, we did have to make some sacrifices as far as some colors go, like the teeth, getting those really tiny pixels to pop in a 3D print is just so challenging. I mean, you're talking like one row of pixels here, but overall you can still see when we print this out, you will most likely be able to see at least the definition of these. That yellow in the cheekbone or the cheeks, that is going to print up a little bit higher, but that's just because HueForge is matching, you know, all the way up here at 42 for those rather than matching all the way down low. And if I were to go back and edit this image a little bit, we would change those colors up so that we could match them a little bit lower so that it would really be in the background. But other than that, I think that this one is good to go to the printer, and we will see how this turns out. So let's go ahead and we will move on to our second project. So this is project number 2. I really love the cartoon style here, but I think I'm partial to cartoon styles because that's what I do. But honestly, if you didn't have to have the exact colors matched up, like I mean, you can see that this looks pretty coherent. I'm gonna obviously we're gonna go into color match and we'll match it up pretty close, so it should be pretty quick. But like realistically, like you can just drag in some extra colors, maybe a brown, like chestnut brown, and then maybe like some kind of just highlight color. And I mean, you're off to the races. Like, you really don't have to, if you don't need to, if you don't have the colors to do it, you don't have to get it, 110% on point. Like, you still get a coherent image just by using standard mode. And there are ways that you can just blend filament in standard mode with higher and lower TDs. So it really comes down to what kind of filaments you have in your library and what you have to work with. I know that not everybody is going to have as many filaments as I do, and I know that when I was first starting out with HueForge, it was like, well, I wish I had that. But that's the great thing about the filament library is that you're able to, if you need, let's say, a red, you can go through the filament library and there you go. You can test out these different kinds of reds that maybe you would like to use for a particular project. And then if you like it, then you could go ahead and order it based on, what you find here. Let's go over to color match and we will go ahead and get started. Again, we're going to start in mesh core. We're going to start dragging over filaments and then we will go from there. So let's turn these off and really we'll just turn off white. So let's start with the true black. You don't have to have black at the bottom. For this one, I am going to have black at the bottom. I might actually just have white at the bottom, to be honest, because of the border. And then we will build on top of that. So then I'm looking at this image. You've got this barrel in the foreground, in my eyes, and then you've got the actual character in the background. So the browns and this gray, they're going to need to be at the top of this, and the other colors that are in the individual, they will need to be down low. So let's go ahead and we will grab this and this and this. So our barrel's taken care of. We'll grab our gray. Again, I'm holding control and left clicking to bring these colors in. Stick that here, bring that here. Nice. Can even bring this in if we really need it to be perfect. And then we can, so I would say that, I guess the hands on top of this. So this is where you have to make the design choice on, considering this skin tone is the same as this skin tone, we're gonna have issues here. Either you're gonna have the hand and the head and the ears on top of this barrel, or you can sync it in. And for me, I'm going to sync it in for this image, but you can't have the best of both worlds without changing the color of, like, say, this hand. If you want this to actually be on top of the barrel without some image editing. That's just the nature of the beast. So we'll go ahead and we'll bring that in. We'll bring this in. What else do we need? This is matching up pretty good. This is matching up pretty good. We need this red somewhere. Nice. We also need this purple. This needs to go down low. Well, there we go. Where are we matching here? So if I hover over this, you can see where we're matching, and it's matching the cheeks to the brown area. I'm just kind of looking around the image just to see what is matching and what's not. Get the big colors out of the way. So like green, we'll need that for the shirt. And we'll need the darker brownish green to come in. Give me the red. I need the red. There we go. Now the tooth and the highlights in the arm, or the arms, I should say, are going to show up a little bit taller. That's okay. It's still going to look really cool when we print it. And I think that that's pretty dang good. I'm excited to print this one out. I think this one's going to look great. Now what do we do? Like we did with the first image. We're going to move over to our color core. It's going to look janky. But okay, that looks creepy. Not so much janky, just creepy. So let's go ahead and we're going to grab that cotton white. I love using low TD filaments for color match just because it is a lot of the time I'm not messing with blending filaments necessarily in the mesh core. I just like doing really flat images, and the lower TDs are very useful for transitioning from one color to the next color super quickly. They saturate the quickest, so it just makes the most sense. So we'll go ahead and bring this in. We'll bring black up. We've got this brown. We'll bring that all the way up to the top. Let's get... Honestly, we probably need to change spots on this. So this can go up, this can come down, this can go up, this can come up. That way the highlights are on top of the barrel. I missed that. Man, this is coming out great. So now we need to grab, we'll bring this purple down. We'll grab color closest to green, pastel mint. Man, I haven't gotten to use this at all in any of my 3D prints yet. It looks like we're not going to be able to use it today either. What in the world is going on with this green? This should have saturated pretty quickly. Let's see. Let's see where that gets us. This red is going to be pretty easy to match up. I've got a dark red. We've got this. That's matching up here. I'm not sure why. There we go. That looks a little bit more coherent. Shadows are in the back. Then it comes up to the light parts. We will grab, I should have this. Honestly, lilac looks a little bit closer. It's just a little bit higher of a TD. So the teeth are going to be problematic. Do we have, we'll just use lavender purple with it being a 0.5. That means it's going to saturate super quickly for the sake of this image. But we might be able to move the teeth up or down within this. Let's go back over to the mesh core. So let's bring this down, down. Let's bring teeth up, teeth and bone up. The only problem, it looks good overall. The only problem is it's going to be all the way at the top for this, for the tooth here. And this is where, again, I would image edit to make this its own color so that I could put it somewhere else in the mesh core. But for now, we'll leave it how it is. And then we will, this looks like bamboo's blue-gray. That's way too blue. Let's do this. Actually, let's use, oh, it's for the hair. It's for the hair and for the highlights. So let's see. That looks good. We should have like a peanut again. So this is where it can get tricky, where you're trying to, you know, match filaments the best that you can. Notice I'm not doing it 1-to-1 because we're using fake filaments over here. Trying to get it close, but it's not going to be spot on. Just because I just don't have all these colors in my library, but we can get pretty darn close as far as everything is considered. We'll get the champagne gold going. What do I have all the way at the top? Is that white? Don't know why I have white there. There we go. So we could probably go with a different purple for the shadowing. Let me see what other purples I have. We've got this, but the problem is if we do use this, it's not a low enough TD, so a 5 is just not going to be where we want. We need something like a 2 or a 3. So let's see what lilac does. Lilac's a little bit better, but we're still not where I want it as far as what color we want. So why don't we... There we go. So I'll just, instead of me trying to fight the TDs of the filament, we'll just adjust the mesh core up a little bit. That way it blends a little bit better up into it. You can see we're going to get a little bit of stair stepping here. Let me turn on wireframe. But that's okay. It looks a lot better in my opinion. So I'm going to make the design choice here for just because of the filament colors that I own. And I want to print this one out. If you look at describe, this is using 12 unique filaments. 12 is like the high score for me. I've never gone over 12 filaments. Usually, like if it's something like this where it's a bunch of different colors, yeah, 12. 12 is usually where I'm at with it. So here you can see that we, in mesh core, we matched it up perfectly. And then we fell into the limitations of filament and filament colors that I personally own because I still want to print this. That's just, the name of the game. So you have to make those certain sacrifices and figure out what's going to work best for you with the filaments that you own. So yeah, I don't, even though I have every color of the rainbow, I don't have every color of the rainbow in every TD. So it makes it kind of difficult for these kinds of images that use multiple different colors. And like I said, this one's using 12 different colors. So, the odds of me having all 12 in the TDs that I need specifically, unlikely. Unlikely that you will at home as well. But so this is going to be one that I print, and we will move on to the third and final image. All right, so I saved the easiest, in my opinion, for last. As we can see, I was just playing around with different colors for this. But as you can see, there are some floating parts of this mesh, so they will be 3D printed. I can erase them easily in an image editor, but I don't plan on printing this one out. So no biggie, but in the future, if you have an image, it will, you are going to print this out if it's PNG. So for this image, we will go over to color match once again. As you can see, let's go over to luminance. You can see that a lot of these gray areas are matching, so we can't get the color separation we want at a standard. You could definitely take this into color aware and try it there. You might have some issues getting the separation that you want, just because these aren't huge transitions of colors from red to green to blue. So again, color match would be just the easiest for this. So let's turn off all of these and we'll start from the beginning. So right now we need to bring in this blue. We need to bring in this gray. We need to turn all of this off. Let's zoom in. We'll grab this fake black. We will grab this. Grab this. Grab this. Let's bring these up. Can grab this. And this. What are we missing? So we're good here, and we need the hair color. Let's bring this in right here. And there we go. So that was pretty simple. We can actually, this blue is just a hair different. There we go. And we are fairly matched up. Let's go, we'll grab the tongue. That didn't sound weird. We'll grab the color of the tongue, and as far as I can see, that is matched all the way through. We didn't have to do anything crazy for this image, with it being such simple color scheme, which is always easier. You know, we were very quickly able to get this where we needed it. Let's go ahead over to color core, and we'll begin to match it up. So we can turn on black, bring that down. Let's grab a gray, bring it down, grab that cotton white, put it in here. Then we need this blue. I'll say muted white looks pretty good for that. I don't think I have this like brick color. I'm not 100% sure that I want to use that. I would say that muted red for this would look a lot better. Just in practice of printing this. So I will use that. It doesn't look this red, and in person it's got a matte finish, so a little different. Bring in the magenta. Probably bring that up to here. Bring in this Polyterra. Can bring in the lavender just underneath it. I was like, where's my skin tone? Forgot that skin tone is right here. So let's grab, got the skin color. Oh, it's because it's a 4.5. I was like, why are we blending so much? Let me just use peach. Purple should be up, and this should be here. There we go. I was not reading that correctly. So that looks good. Okay, so yeah. So like I said, this was definitely an easier image to HueForge because of the simplistic colors. We're pretty dang close. The shirt could be, we could bring in like a metallic bronze. That looks pretty on point. So if we just, for the example's sake, this is the power of color match. This is a very color match heavy episode, but just because of the color separation, it's a lot easier than having to go in and edit all of these images. But so now I will go print these out and I will show you the results. And that wraps up the Artist Series episode 4. I would like to give a huge shout out to JakeMakes. Please go check him out in the description of the video. All of his links will be there to his social media. Huge shout out to him. Thank you so much for letting me use your stuff to do walkthroughs of HueForge to show everybody else how to use color match and how I would approach these very colorful images. So Dora is the first one that I would like to show off. Came out amazingly. This was 12 different filaments to get this result. The only thing that I would change about this image is in Photoshop, I would actually go and change the color of the cheeks. Like I showed you while I was making this, basically with it being yellow and with Boots' stomach being yellow, it made the cheeks a little bit taller. It gives it a lot of depth, but I would still probably make it into a different color. That way we could color match it and then move it lower in the mesh. So it's not trying to match Boots' stomach with the cheekbones. This is image 2, and this came out even better. This was 11 different filaments. I think it came out great. We had to make some compromises with the filament colors, but if I had every color of the rainbow, it would come out even better. Mwah. Now don't look behind me, okay? I might have every color of the rainbow, but I don't have them in all the TDs that I need, and I don't have every shade of the colors of the rainbow. I'm sorry, I'm not perfect. But that being said, again, huge shout out to JakeMakes. Love these. If you're an artist and you would love to see your stuff get turned into 3D prints, please reach out to me. I would love to feature you. If you learned something, please like, subscribe. I hope to see you guys in the future. Keep on creating.